All right, wake up call or wake? That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, when the border bill fiasco was unraveling last night, I started to think about how the GOP Senate leadership could so wildly misread their own party on an issue as important as this. I mean, do they ever listen to their own constituents? They ever read anything about what the constituents believe? Any polls? Don't they see that everyone is fed up with doublespeak on the border? And then I was thinking about Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, where he explains why PR alone, like the type you've been hearing about the bill from people like Langford and Sinema and Chris Murphy, that kind of bluster can't rescue a bad final product. Trump wrote, "You can't con people, at least not for long. You can create excitement, you can do wonderful promotion and get all kinds of press, and you can throw in a little hyperbole, but if you don't deliver the goods, people will eventually catch on." And that's what happened here. We told you weeks ago that the phony border security bill being cooked up in the Senate would be an insult to your intelligence. But they kept saying that, oh, you're being unfair, you should just wait for the text. Well, of course, by now, every honest broker knows that the actual text of the bill, scroll the prompter, thank you, the text of the bill is much worse. Now, as Speaker Johnson said on this show last night, it wasn't even a border bill at all. It was really just an immigration bill, and a liberal one at that, because the border remains open. Unaccompanied minors don't count toward the 5,000-person trigger. Millions still are allowed into the country, including through the ports of entry, and Mayorkas retains the power to grant asylum. And remember, Biden can end the emergency for what he calls the national interest, and the border emergency itself sunsets in 3 years. Oh, and then money for lawyers for migrants. Of course, millions for that. And it's a huge boon to foreign workers. So by late last night, they had already lost 22 Republican senators, and it was effectively a dead deal. Now, you all know this because you've been watching. I tried to warn Senator Langford that he was just setting himself up for the fall, to be the fall guy. But he wouldn't listen. But at least he found a new friend.
It's been an extraordinary effort by Senators Langford, Murphy, and Sinema. The result of all this hard work is a bipartisan agreement that represents the most fair, humane reforms in our immigration system in a long time.
Please, trusting Biden and Mayorkas on a border bill would be like trusting Jeffrey Epstein at a senior prom. The bill wouldn't have stopped the invasion. It would have simply regularized the flow, maybe managed it a tiny bit better, and then it would have hamstrung Trump from implementing a true border enforcement operation, which he knows how to do. And by the way, to add insult to injury, it would have given Biden a small political escape hatch on the border issue itself. But why would any Republican ever agree to that? But now, Joe, all he has in his quiver, MAGA bad.
All indications are this bill won't even move forward to the Senate floor. Why? A simple reason. Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump thinks it's bad for him politically. Therefore, he doesn't, even though it helps the country, he's not for it. He'd rather weaponize this issue than actually solve it.
No, the truth is, and I'm sure even Biden of the addled mind knows it, Trump did largely have the border solved. This is just one of dozens of substantive reasons that no sane conservative could ever have voted for this. And now that it's effectively crashed and burned, the Democrats are following their little consultant-drafted battle plan. It's a hard pivot, and you're seeing it play out, to blame Biden's border catastrophe on Trump.
We're going to have to carry this message into November, that the Democrats have actually stood for fixing our border, and the Republicans have been completely missing in action.
What did Senator Bennett say? Missing in action? Republicans missing in action on the border? Now, how often has our border czar visited the border again?
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Now, the moment we heard that she was put in charge of the border was the moment we knew that they planned to overwhelm our country with migrants, or, in their thinking, future Democrat voters. Now, as we painstakingly have cataloged all their border dereliction, even Democrats started speaking up.
I said it last year when we had 15,000, and I'm telling you now with 110,000, the city we knew we're about to lose.
As buses continue to arrive in the city of Chicago and all over the country, the type of chaos that has been administered has left many of our local economies under a tremendous amount of duress.
Looks like a hostage tape there. Now, we all feel the growing power of the cartels, the criminal gangs, the Chinese, the North Africans, the Middle Easterners, who are coming here by the hundreds of thousands. That ain't MAGA's fault. It's all on Biden and Mayorkas. And none of it was an accident. They're achieving their goals here. As I said with Chad Pergram, if a phone call to Zelensky is an impeachable offense, then what Biden has done to the border darn well has to be. The vast property damage they've caused, all the Greeniacs, it's been an environmental catastrophe. Think about every innocent American brutalized by migrant crime, every child who's been trafficked and abused, every woman raped along the way, including a lot of the migrants. Every dollar spent on migrants that could be spent on our own veterans and our own homeless. But somehow Biden thinks voters in November are going to take it out on Trump because Republicans said no to defending other countries when the Senate couldn't agree to defend America?
Folks, we've got to move past this toxic politics. It's time to stop playing games with the world waiting and watching. And by the way, the world is waiting. The world is watching. They are waiting and watching what we're going to do. We can't continue to let petty partisan politics get in the way of our responsibility.
Petty partisan politics. Translation. Conservatives decided they wouldn't be rolled again. And hyperbole about Putin, that's not going to change a single voter's mind.
This bill is standing up to Putin. Opposing this bill is playing into his hands. As I've said before, the stakes on this fight extend well beyond Ukraine. If we don't stop Putin's appetite for power and control in Ukraine, he won't limit himself to just Ukraine.
Okay, none of this makes any sense. Because if the Uniparty really wanted all that money for Ukraine, and it's a lot of money, or they want something for the Dreamers or foreign worker visas, whatever they want, they needed to bargain with something real. Not offer some fake border bill that empowered Mayorkas and neutered a future President Trump. The days of heavy-footing the populace are over. Unless something wild happens, Trump's going to be the party's nominee in November for the third presidential election in a row. Get the hint, everybody? Everybody's got to get used to that reality. This is not the party of Mitt Romney or Liz Cheney. And if Trump does win, the deals that come out of his administration will actually be good for the American people first. Real negotiations with real results by including all the key players. The Senate Uniparty tried their border sneak, and they failed miserably. This will either be a wake-up call for them or their political wake.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.